It's Epicenter's Road to Joey here. Before I roll into this episode, I'd just like to apologise for there not being an episode last week. The major reason for that was I was ill. And I could have made an episode like this, I could have tried to get something out, but I was pretty confident that no matter how hard I tried, the episode would have looked awful. I was terribly unwell, and you guys don't want to watch a video where I'm coughing every 2 minutes, and if I made that episode, my already bad editing would be even more annoying than it is now. And I don't want to turn around to you guys and say, oh well, here's an episode, be happy with it. It's like, no. You guys are the top percent, you deserve the best, you deserve good episodes. And I'm not just going to turn around and say, here's content, be happy with it. If I don't feel that the episode I can give you guys is as good as it could be, then I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to throw out bad content just for the sake of throwing out content. I will always try and make sure that a video that I bring to you is at least slightly well, it's acceptable. It's not awful. It's actually it's watchable. And to be honest, yeah, I have failed a couple of times in that. There are times where I've missed audio bars and everything like that. And for those times, I do apologise. I really sincerely apologise for those bad episodes. With all that said, yeah, as I said, last week I was ill, I couldn't really get an episode out to you guys, and I'll probably be a miracle in getting this out on time, since I'm recording on the day of release instead of beforehand. But with that said, let's roll into something more relevant. Firstly, a correction that's been handed to me about my last episode. When I was talking about egg moves, the fact that I said that the father can pass the egg moves onwards. What I forgot to note was the whole fact that you can pass on egg moves. What am I even talking about? It wasn't egg moves, it was dream world abilities. I mentioned that fathers could pass on dream world abilities. This only works if you're breeding with Ditto. If you're breeding with an actual pair of the Pokemon you want, then you won't be able to get the Dream World ability from a father just because of the whole fact that it's the mother in the breeding pair that decides the species of Pokemon. If a father could pass on a Dream World ability without having Pokemon Ditto, then you could basically use one Dream World father to get every single Dream World ability within that father's egg group. Joy. So, with all that, I've covered, while there was an episode last week, I've covered what, I put the mistake on breeding from last episode. Now let's get on to today's episode. Smogon, or Smogon, depending on how you pronounce it yourself. Now, the reason I want to talk about Smogon is just the whole fact that there have been a lot, and I mean a lot, of people moaning about Smogons. It's a case of they see certain Pokemon in battles now, and it's like, Pokemon like Greninja, like Talonflame that's been nicknamed Smogon Bird, Aegislash, and before it was banned, Mega Gengar. And people are like, oh, it's just Smogon, it's a Smogon, congratulations, you have the OU Smogon starter set. And quite frankly, I just want to cover the whole fact that I really dislike this mentality. Everyone turning around and saying, oh, using these Pokemon, you must have looked up how to make them on Smogon, you're just using Smogon to do this, Smogon that, Smogon's like the worst thing ever. And, to be honest, Smogon isn't bad. In fact, Smogon is a pretty good place to go to learn stuff. This is why people have a problem with Smogon, because it's so good. That being said, I really should actually explain to those who don't know what Smogon is. Smogon, or the Smogon University, is basically an archive. It's basically an archive site where you can go and find out with competitive Pokemon battling. They have guides on EV training, they have guides on IV breeding, and they also actually have guides on each individual Pokemon. So you want to look up how to build a certain Greninja or a Fortress, or any Pokemon really, and they will be able to show you the most competitive builds for that Pokemon. Its moveset, its preferred IVs, its EV spread, all of that really good stuff really. And yeah, I will be honest that it does seem a bit like having a cheat sheet, the whole fact that you can just go onto Smogon, oh here's this list, I'll just do this piece for piece. That in itself is only really there for unimaginative players. There are some amazing players out there who actually will look at a Smogon list and say, oh well, using these moves and that EV spread, what if I change the EV spread slightly? What if I make it so, instead of having 252 in special defense, I could 248 and put 4 EVs into speed, so that in a mirror match, I'm going to be 1 point faster than my opponent. I might not have as much defense, but I'm faster. And to be honest, it does work out really well. The biggest complaint that I've noticed about Smogon isn't just the whole fact that people are taking Pokemon from there, it's Smogon's tiering system. Smogon has introduced tiers into their actual competitive battling scene, so basically to establish some type of balance and to make it so that the game stays varied and healthy. The most commonly used tier is the tier known as OU, or Overused. Now, the OU tier, it contains basically, it's the most commonly used tier and it's what you see the most common Pokemon in. It's where you'll see your Talonflames, your Greninjas, your Vega Slashes. And yeah, the tiering system itself is made to keep the game fresh. That being said, when people do go onto a site like Showdown, which is created by the guys over at Smogon, and it's updated when the guys over at Smogon find out new things in the new generation. When you go on there though, there are people who will come out with a certain bit of animosity when they see Greninja, Talonflame, Aegislash, Mega Kangaskhan. So basically all of these staple Pokemon. And they'll say, oh, you're just using the Smogon instance. Okay, so, well, it's not just the Smogon list, it's everyone's list. The main reason why people use all of these same Pokemon isn't the fact that, oh, Smogon says they're best, it's the fact that the guys at Smogon have tested these Pokemon and have turned out to be really good. Yes, there is that element to it. Smogon does say these Pokemon are good. But then people start using them and they realise, heck, these really are good. You could try using something else in the place of Talonflame. It wouldn't do the same job, because Talonflame is Talonflame. Talonflame has Gale Wings, it gets priority on half of its move pool. You have something like Greninja. Why is Greninja so good? It's got good stats, a wide and varying move pool, and its Dream Roll ability is absolutely amazing. So people turning around and saying, oh, you're just using Smogon in this case. No. Some Pokemon are just better than others. This has always been the case. That's why Smogon's able to make the tier listings. That's why we have OU. That's why we have Ubers, an area that's mostly inhabited by legendaries, oddly enough. It's all your Rayquazas, Kyogre, Groudon, Mewtwo. Currently, the Pokebank Beta has Deoxys and Deoxys Attack Form. No sign of speed or defense yet. But we have we have these tiers, and people moan and people will end up moaning when certain Pokemon get shifted from one tier to another. This has happened quite recently with Mega Gengar. Currently, on the Smogon tier listings, the item Gengarite is now banned for OU use. And a lot of people have turned around and said, why? Mega Gengar isn't that powerful. Except it really, really is. It's not the whole fact that it's faster than everything, it's not the fact that it's more powerful than everything, it's the fact that it's incredibly centralizing. The biggest problem that people don't see on Mega Gengar is they think that it all relies to it on its stats and its strengths and weaknesses. It doesn't. The big problem on Mega Gengar is Shadow Tag. Anything that's competitive without Shadow Tag is an absolute monster with Shadow Tag. Added to the fact that when we get Pokemon Go U, Mega Gengar can get its hands on Perish Song. So, you switch in a Mega Gengar on something that your opponent has out that can't deal with Mega Gengar, you can Shadow Tag, lock that thing in place, Perish Song, wait 2 turns, on the 3rd turn, you switch out your Gengar. Your opponent can't switch out because you had Shadow Tag active that turn. Their Pokemon dies, Mega Gengar is fine. And there you go. So if Gengar can wall 2 things on your opponent's team, it can get 2 free kills without even trying. Heck, anything tries to 3-shot Gengar, it's gone. Gengar comes in, Perish Song. Okay? 1 shot, 2 shot. Oh, what? So you want to finish Gengar with your 3rd hit? No, I'm going to switch out Gengar because this is turn 3 Perish Song. He'd die anyway, so I'm going to get him out of there. You can hit something else and you lose your guy. You have to be able to either 2-shot or 1-shot Gengar. And this is where another big argument comes from. A lot of people say, oh, well, Sucker Punch counters it. It's not immune to Earthquake anymore. There's this, there's that, there's the other, there's like a million different ways around him. Once again, Shadow Tag. That's the problem. Not the Pokemon, the ability. It's great if you have an answer on your team, but if you have something that's known for using Earthquake, if you have something that can use Sucker Punch, if you have something that turns around and says, I can destroy Gengar if I can get 1 hit off, then, oddly enough, I don't think your opponent's going to switch Mega Gengar in on that Pokemon. Firstly, when you get a Perish Song build, if your opponent brings out Mega Gengar, you can't switch. So having the answer in your party doesn't matter. And once again, it's Perish Song. That Gengar is going to be out for 2 turns. On the 3rd turn, your opponent's going to retreat it. You're still stuck there, you lose your Pokemon. There's no point going into your answer, because if you go into your answer, they're not going to bring out Gengar. And they can just use something else on their team to take care of your answer. The fact that Mega Gengar on its own can guarantee knockouts is what makes it such a big, big problem. And we're not saying that, it's not to say that Gengar's the problem. I've actually had this argument, I've actually had this discussion before over on Showdown. Somebody was saying, bring back Gengar. It's like, don't ban Gengar, ban the moves. It's like, the move isn't the problem. Perish Song is not the problem. Perish Song on Gengar isn't a problem. Perish Song on Mega Gengar, that's a problem. Because of Shadow Tag. You can't switch out on that. You can't stop your opponent actually using Perish Song. You can't stop them locking you in place. Just like they can't do the same to you. And that's the whole big problem with this. Everyone seems to think, oh, I'll just ban the move. No. Why do that? If I set up a scenario where you can't switch out because of something other than Shadow Tag, say I use Mean Look. I go, Perish Song, Mean Look. There you go, you're locked in place. But I have to get 2 moves off to do that. Whereas going Shadow Tag, Perish Song, it's 1 move. It's 1 move, I'm taking less hits. Gengar can survive. Heck, you want to bring out something big against Gengar? You want to show me a Blissey? Or Eviolite Chansey? They can very rarely actually... There's very few Chansey and Blissey builds that actually can deal with Mega Gengar. It's like, do you want a Seismic Toss? Oh, I'm a ghost, you can't touch me. you have to hope that your Blissey is running Shadow Ball. And if Gengar's taken a couple of hits before the Ink-Gun can chance your Blissey, okay, here we go, here's my Shadow type. Here's Perish Song. What's that, you can't hit me, you can't do anything to me. Well, here's Pain Split. I'm going to share our hit point, I'm going to share our health evenly. What's that, you had a lot more health than me. So I'm fully healed. You just lost a lot of health anyway, but that doesn't matter because you're going to be knocked out because Perish Song. You can softball if you want, you can aromatherapy if you want. Gengar's still taking you down with Perish Song, and Gengar's going to go on the turn Perish Song ends. And that's why Gengar was banned. But people are still crying out for it. People are still crying out for the whole fact that there's so many counters. Counters don't work in a Shadow attack. Oh, I could Sucker Punch against Mega Gengar, a Pokemon that isn't actually offensive. All it has to do is just go Sub, Perish Song, Pain Split. Where have I mentioned a physical attack there? Where have I mentioned an offensive move? And if I do want to carry an offensive move, I've still got one slot spare. I can go for that offensive move. I can just set up a sub first. Oh, you're gonna Sucker Punch me when I've got a sub. Have fun with that. As I said, a lot of people do moan about what Smogon does, but to get back onto the subject though, a lot of people have moaned about Smogon effectively banning Mega Gengar, and they don't approve of the whole OU starter pack. But to be honest, Smogon are just there to actually help competitive players, to actually give them, put them up, give them a step in the right direction, say, that way, that's where all the fun stuff is. Have fun playing. The reason they ban things like Mega Gengar, the whole reason they ban stuff like a couple of generations back, on about banning Salamence, because it was just so versatile. And the big thing there is they don't want the format to be centralised. With Mega Gengar, if Mega Gengar isn't banned, and it guarantees to get at least one knockout or two knockouts without dropping itself, then yeah, why wouldn't people run it? As I said way earlier on in this video, some Pokemon are better than others. That has always been the case, it always will be the case. Mega Gengar, being able to take out one or two things on its own, and you can still have 5 other guys to do everything else you need. You can still have a defensive core. Yeah, why wouldn't everyone run that? It's either you run it, or you get stuck against it. Okay then, what do? I guess you're going to run this, aren't you? If you can guarantee taking out 1 or 2 guys, you're going to run it. And does anyone want to play that game? Does anyone want to play a competitive scene where absolutely everyone runs Mega Gengar? We don't want to play that game, do we? I don't want to play it, and I'm pretty sure you guys don't want to play that. Everyone has to have this one guy on their team. It's over-centralising. And that's the biggest reason why they got rid of it. It's a centralising problem. It was the same with Salamence. It was good. You could put choice it, you could have mix-ments, you could do whatever you wanted with it. And it did the job, and that's why they're debating whether it should get moved from OU into Ubers. I believe eventually it did end up moving into Ubers before coming back down into OU. That's because even though it was a centralising Pokemon, up in Ubers, Salamence got absolutely destroyed. It really did. So it couldn't survive in Ubers, so it came back to OU. It was just the very top tier of OU. There was nothing in between. And that's the whole thing that Smogon are going for. They don't want the game to be centralised. They don't want everyone running mix-ments. They don't want everyone running Mega Gengar. They want everyone to run different teams. They want the game to be diverse. I mean, yeah, odd, isn't it? People wanting the game to be diverse and interesting. What is this madness? yeah, that's the whole reason why Smogon exists. That's the whole reason why Smogon does what it does. It wants the game to remain diverse. They've made a competitive scene where the game can remain diverse. So, I think basically, I'm closing out on this after I've done all this ranting and rambling about absolutely nothing. Basically, guys, I just want to say, please stop the Smogon hate. You might see people running like the Smogon starter set, but there's a reason why people run those Pokemon. It's not because Smogon says so, it's because they're just generally good Pokemon. And if Smogon make a decision, trust me, they have put a lot of thought into it. They don't just say, oh, we don't like this, get rid of it. No, they do actually think this through. They did put up a poll, and people moaned when, the poll went up and a lot of people said keep Mega Gengar, and they didn't keep it. That's because the poll wasn't there to say, should we keep it or not? The poll was to measure response, and oddly enough, on a poll saying, should we keep Mega Gengar or not, when they're thinking about getting rid of it because it's over-centralizing, saying we should keep Mega Gengar is the exact opposite thing to what you want to do to keep Mega Gengar. You put up a poll like that, saying, should we keep Mega Gengar? If everyone says yes, then they're going to get rid of it. Because it shows that absolutely everyone who's active is going to run it. It's over-centralizing. So, as I was saying, let's try and stop the Smogon hate. Sure, suppose that the Smogon might seem a little arrogant at times, but they're just human. It's human nature to be a little arrogant every now and then. I do it, I'm pretty sure some of you guys do it every now and then, and if Smogon has this higher than, mightier than you attitude every now and then yeah, if you want to rag on them being mightier than you, then... Sorry, let me reboot that. If you want to rag on them for being mightier than you, then yeah. Go for it, yeah, well, because you don't deserve to be spoken down to. But if they make a decision and they give you a good reason behind it, don't moan because you don't agree with it. They have put the testing in, they've probably put more testing in than you could. They've got a team working on it, and you're one person. And sure, when it comes to stuff like Mega Gengar, yes, Mega Gengar is beatable. Mega Gengar is also an absolute monster. Piloted correctly, Mega Gengar will wreck half of your team, will wreck a good 1/6 to 1/3 of your team. And yeah, that's only 1 or 2 Pokemon. That's 1 or 2 Pokemon you can't use anymore. They've still got Mega Gengar plus 5 other guys. So, with all that, let's try and stop the Smogon hate. They do have the best interest of the game at heart. They might seem a little arrogant every now and then, but that's just human nature. And until next time, I've been Writer Joey. You guys are the top percent.